Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel, and I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And some people I thank have inspired me. I hope they can inspire you as well, and I will have links below this video to their sites. They're Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lazer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Lon Anava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rav Daniel Asor, Nisan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Rabbi Michael Skobek, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Ashir, and Rabbi Yaron Reuven. As well, if you've never checked out this channel before, I will have a link right below this video to my first video, which explains what M.L.M for the Soul means, what it stands for, and what I am doing. So this was taken from Rabbi Mizrahi's Facebook page from an organization called Areivim. It's spelled AREIVIM.com. Like the expression Areivim Zel Azeh, we're all responsible for each other. And I believe they're in Muncie, New York, if you want to check them out. So this was an interesting article called Keeping Emotions in Check. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. So this is a letter adjusted for readers that was sent to a yeshiva bacher, which is someone who learns in yeshiva, a boy, who allows his emotions to negatively control his thoughts, actions, and decisions, which is not what we want to happen. So I'd like to begin by saying that I consider myself a very emotional person. There are many songs that make me want to cry, and I feel terrible pain when people suffer. Most of the people who know me may be reading this in disbelief. If I'm as emotional as I claim, why don't I act that way? I found that my emotions can get me into trouble. They make me think I'm not good enough at anything that I do. They make me angry at people, and they make me feel bad about much of the time. Of course, emotions have a very important purpose, which I'll explain in a minute, but when we talk about the emotions that I just described, all they do is get me in trouble. I lose friends, they cost me money, and ruin some of the opportunities that would otherwise be available to me. Even, quote, friendly emotions can get me in trouble. They cause me to do favors that I can't afford to people that won't appreciate them. When I would, quote, lose my temper and anger and frustration, I used to think that, quote, this is who I am. I thought I was destined for all the ups and downs of emotions until I realized that I could control myself with a single message, which I have to remind myself many times. And this is the quote, anything is better than what I'm going through. To me, this is a powerful motivator and has allowed me to change in many areas. Yes, I've some strong bad traits that, quote, pull me, but my unwillingness to pay, quote, the price for them has pulled me just as strongly in the other direction. I still make mistakes, but the times that I held back from making mistakes and did the right things were because I realized that anything was better than the mistake what I was about to make. So that's good hindsight. They say it's 20/20. So think before you act or speak or do. So that helps. So whenever I was about to lash out at people, I thought beforehand that, quote, I don't want to pay the price. I don't want to start or continue a fight that will last 2 to 3 days. I don't want to have to apologize. I don't want to feel the guilt. So you think about what's going to happen afterwards based on what you're going to do. That can stop you from doing it as well. So that's a good point here. After a while, controlling my emotions got a lot easier. I was able to realize without the internal grappling that stressing out or feeling that I was being mistreated wasn't a worthwhile option to consider. Thinking about how life isn't fair offered me nothing. It may be true, but all it does is change me into a monster or a person who doesn't care. Whatever change it does to me, it isn't important. What's important is that I become someone who I don't want to see in the mirror. Moving on with my life offers me everything. Healthy relationships with friends, chavrusos, which is people that you learn with together. And the most important thing I can have, my yishuv hadas, which is my peace of mind. But what do I do with the entire hergish, which is called emotion, it means emotion, and concept in avodas, which is serving Hashem. When it's used properly, hergish does two things which are necessary for people's avodas Hashem, but only in the following circumstances. So, number one, emotions prove that people care about something. They may go to a siyum hashas, which is the conclusion of finishing the shas, and find themselves, quote, moved by the event. That's Hashem telling them that, quote, deep down, they can become talmidei chachamim, which is people who become learned scholars. If they feel a hergish after hearing a beautiful bal tefillah, which is someone who reads, davens for the congregation, it may mean that they believe in the power of tefillah. Both of these mean that they believe in Hashem's ability to intervene in their lives. What they do next should be decided by their intelligence and not by their emotion. Number two, hergish will allow people to do more than will logic. If people see a person asking for tzedakah, which is charity, they may give him $1, but they feel the poor person suffering. If they feel it, there's a person suffering, they may consider giving him $5. If a person intellectually knows that he wants to be a Talmid Chacham, he learns every day. It's his emotions which strengthen his resolve and motivates him to give up 1 hour of his sleep and settle for 7 hours instead of 8 so that he can learn a little more. What happens if people don't use intelligence but become, quote, all emotional or all emotion? If after acknowledging through his emotions that he wanted to be a Talmid Chacham, a person could still become a recluse, like some people I've seen, which is him saying it, not me, the person that wrote this, and try without success to act levels above his true level and what he's capable of doing. And eventually he will, quote, crash. It's like people who become Baal Tshuva, and the first thing you want to do is go to Kabbalah or Tanya. You're like baby steps. You're like kindergarten or nursery, preschool. You have to start slowly. Learn the Torah. Read the whole Torah from start to finish. And just the simple meaning. Don't go on to levels that are beyond you, because then you'll really fall apart. So let's imagine a person who's emotionally connected with tefillah, and through his emotions has decided he wants the ultimate davening experience. He would wake up in the morning, spend a few hours going to the mikvah, and wrap a towel over his head so tightly that it would restrict his oxygen supply. That doesn't sound like someone who's doing what he's supposed to, like Vodas Hashem. Finally, he decides that he can't daven with a minion because it disturbs his concentration. Then he finds himself davening after the Zman Tefillah, which is the time that you have to do your tefillah. Each day is different according to the time of the year, and has no time to learn and do anything else. So when a person's emotions are properly used, the emotions could be A, catalyst, and B, quote, drive people to do as much as they can in whatever task lies before them. However, they have to allow their intelligence to tell them when their decisions have become irresponsible. Choosing to let their emotions rule their actions and thoughts will cause them to do what Hashem doesn't want them to do and won't make them feel good, so we don't want that. People should remind themselves that emotions that rule them are what Shlomo HaMelech describes toward the end of Mishlei. He says there was a peasant who rebelled against the king and took over a country through a coup. Without having any knowledge of leadership and without having any care for others, the peasant stripped the land of its resources, leaving it as a shadow of the great kingdom it once was. Living, quote, on the top, the peasant is unaware and doesn't care, that the rest of the kingdom lives in poverty and despair. So he just doesn't know how to do anything. He shouldn't be, running the kingdom. He doesn't know what it's all about. So when emotions lead, they cause the rest of the people's character traits to live in poverty and despair. However, just as peasants are integral parts of the country by working in their fields and contributing to the economy, people's emotions can't be squashed or sent into exile. They have to know their place, that they're servants and not rulers. So everything has a place, but you have to know where it belongs. So let me tell you, emotions are a great thing to have, but they're like an electrical saw. It makes a lot of noise and doesn't discriminate what it slices. It often hurts the one handling it and doesn't know or care how to be apologetic. Keep it in your basement and pull it out only when you don't have any other alternatives. And when people's emotions control them, they can damage themselves. And a Ben Torah should focus more on thought than emotion by saying, quote, at this moment, what is the ratzon, the will of Hashem? However, you have to think and believe it. To the extent that you can succeed in asking yourself, what's the ratzon Hashem at this moment? You'll find yourself loved by Hashem, by those around you, and just as important, by yourself. So, then he brings in Parshas Korach. I don't know if it's related to this article, but I can go through it anyway. It's in Parshas Korach, and it's not the Parsha that we're on this week, but this just was in this article. People have many responsibilities in order to help them fulfill their missions. To succeed, they must have clarity as to what are their intended missions, but people often misunderstand them. They may succeed in what they thought was expected of them and overlook what was really expected. In this Parasha, the responsibilities of the Leviim are discussed. Some people will list the Leviim responsibilities as follows. 1, help the Kohanim when they are short-handed. 2, open the gate. 3, be Shomrim, which is people who watch in various positions of the Har HaBayis, which is a temple mount, and sing during the Avodah. So the Torah explains their responsibility differently. It says, I'm just going to read the English, that you should carry the sins of the Karbanos. This means make sure that the rest of Klal Yisrael doesn't overstep their boundaries in the Azorah, which is the courtyard, and Mishkan, the temple, and be punished. They also have the other 4 responsibilities, but their primary one isn't any of those 4. Here's another example of people mistaking what is their real mission. The Gemara in Nedarim questions how Rebbeim are allowed to charge for teaching, since Torah may only be taught for free. One opinion is it's allowed because they can't do another job while they are teaching. A second opinion is that they have to watch or babysit the young children. The Rosh explains that the watching that the Gemara refers to is stopping the children from going into the streets and being affected by bad influences found there. While they may not be the Rebbeim's primary mission, it is an important one. If they're unaware of their responsibilities, they may do a great job but still not fulfill what they were hired to do. So people should ask themselves, what are their missions? It's possible that they mistake their perceived missions and cause significant gaps in fulfilling their true mission. So bringing those two together, using your emotions when they're necessary for good things, so you can do Avodas Hashem, and then also knowing what your mission is and how to fulfill it and how to be responsible for it. And I hope and pray that we all will merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days and the rebuilding of our final and everlasting Beis Hamikdash. Amen, and thanks for watching.